It is warming up here in Fort Myers, Florida, and spring training rolls on. Red Sox with pitchers and catchers already going through their workouts, position players reporting for duty as well, and we are here live. It's another spring training edition of 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 49 years, and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. Tom Caron Lou Merloni, we are in the big stadium today. We're at JetBlue Park. Inside, players out behind us getting ready. They'll be taking batting practice. Catchers getting in their work here in the stadium today. Sonny Gray going to throw live BP in about an hour, so that'll be fun to watch. Fun watching these guys come out for the first time and get their work done. Sonny Gray, we'll talk a lot about him over the coming days. But we talked about this yesterday a little bit, Lou. Alex Cora is a big believer in getting here in the stadium. Yeah. You know, 6 other fields behind, and they all have pretty much the same dimensions. But this is as close to Fenway Park as it gets. For the new guys, it's a chance to get your feel for the dimensions.
Well, you should be in here as much as possible. You have a very unique stadium. You know, this is not... You know, you don't want to see 340 down the line and 385 in the gaps. I mean, you want to get to your comfort. You want to see what right center is like. You want to see that green monster, the pesky pole. You want these guys out here hitting and fielding and doing everything in front of a ballpark that you're going to be at 81 times. And we're here, TC, because this is where the action is.
310 to left. That's what you want to see. You want to see 310 to left.
Yeah,
that's
and
why
we
this
come
is
out here
310
because
to
we
left.
got some action on the
We
field.
are following the action. We've talked a lot about how spring training is different for different guys. You were a guy who had to come here and earn your spot on the team every year. Trevor Story shows up today. He knows he's just got to get his work and be healthy and ready for the start of the season. But for the guys like you, and Greg Weissert, who we're going to hear from in a couple minutes, he said, I come to camp every year trying to earn a spot on the team. I haven't earned anything coming into camp. What are these early days like? Because, again, some guys are here ramping up slowly, just worrying about staying healthy. Other guys are here trying to make an impression from day one.
You know how many times I hear people say, like, do you miss this? Do you miss spring training? And my answer quickly is no. This is the worst time of year for someone like me and for about 10 or 15 guys here in camp. You are coming here to try to make the team. If you don't, you get sent down to AAA, which is not where you want to be. So this isn't a relaxed atmosphere for a starter like Trevor Story, who starts off 0 for 8, 1 for 11 in spring training. There's no stress. For others, there is. You want to perform right away. You want to show the little things that can, help this team win ball games. And sometimes even with relievers, there's a lot of competition in this bullpen. You're almost putting too much pressure on a performance in spring training, when the reality is they know who you are. They just want to see you go out there and maybe work on this one thing they asked you to work on in the offseason, see how that goes.
Way back when, before you, guys would show up to spring training to get in shape, to begin the process. Now guys obviously get here in tremendous shape. They are almost game ready, which is why it's so fascinating to me to watch these early live BPs, because it used to be a week, 2 weeks in before you started seeing that. Now, we watched Garrett Crochet throw live batting practice yesterday, and he didn't look good. But nobody cares. Right. That goes back to who Garrett Crochet is, what he's got to accomplish. All you worry about is that he shows up today healthy and no problems from yesterday's outing.
To your point, when I was playing and you did live BP, you wanted to face Pedro Martinez. You wanted to face like a veteran like a David Cohn or Brett Saberhagen or Derek Lowe even, because they were out there in live BP just getting working. Like Pedro wasn't ramping it up to 96, 97. He was 90, 92, just working on his mechanics, hitting spots. When you hit a ball off him, he would joke about it. Like the studs, they didn't come in here like these guys do now. I mean, they're out here in their first live BP letting it eat. Even the veterans who know that they're on this team, they've been throwing bullpens before they get here. So that's a little bit different. So it's definitely ramped up, and it's just a changing of times.
That's why Mickey Gasper was swinging early against Crochet. We know he starts every game with a fastball anyway, so you might as well go with that approach in live BP.
Hey, if I'm going to face Garrett Crochet in live BP, if he throws me a fastball, I'm getting out of there. What do I want to do, get embarrassed by a sweeper down and in? I don't want that, right? So first pitch, I'm in there hacking. Mick's a smart hitter.
Over here on the stadium right now, the catchers are behind us. We're going to talk a lot about catchers in a little bit, because we talk so much about pitchers with pitchers and catchers, but the catchers are here getting there early, and they've got a number of catchers trying to fight their way up and down that depth chart right now.
You mentioned the depth chart, the big league depth chart. We know the two guys that are here. Matt Tice was brought in. He's another veteran. But as you mentioned yesterday, they brought in a ton of minor league catchers. A couple years ago, I think when Craig Breslow came in here, there was a lot of catchers in this system, but a lot of them were offensive-minded catchers. They weren't very good defensively. And if you're going to shift to run prevention, if you were going to bring in these elite arms and want them to progress, you need a defensive catcher in A ball, high A, double A, triple A, to work with these guys, right? Experienced catchers to teach them how to get through a ball game. And you know, listen, if you're a good framer and a blocker, that helps the guy in the mound build confidence. So if you're flooded with just guys who aren't good defensive catchers, it's hard to develop pitching. So they've made that change. They've brought in some defensive first catchers in the minor leagues to help that process.
Cedar Rafaela, we saw a minute ago, showing off his glove. He's got the gold trim around the Rawlings logo. He's a Gold Glover, and he is awfully proud to show that glove right now.
Should be platinum. That's what I told him. He smiled, and I think he might have agreed. But he's a special talent. Now, there was some conversation of where is this guy going to be? You know, depending on how the offseason goes, could he spend time at second base? I think now it's obvious, and a lot of this has to do with the people they brought in. But this guy's your center fielder, and he's a Gold Glover. We all know that, and he should win the platinum glove. Isaiah
Kiner-falefa saying, "Don't play any second base. I don't want you to steal the utility Gold Glove. I want a shot at the utility Gold Glove."
You know, we didn't have a utility Gold Glove or utility, I don't know, best offensive utility player when I was playing. Not that I would have won either of them, but it would have been a nice goal for us guys, you know. I love the fact they're giving a little utility love. And how about that? For a guy that comes in his role, he's been pretty much an everyday player wherever he has gone, filling in some spots. But for him already to accept this utility role and him making a goal of winning the Gold Glove, I think says a lot of where he is.
I also love what he said about it. I want to do it because I know it's hard to do. He goes, I know I can fill that role, and not a lot of guys can, and that is what this team needs the most.
Yeah, and I talked to him afterwards about like the preparing for it, because he's a utility guy, and he mentioned it briefly. We got into more of it privately. It was like you always play shortstop, because third and second can play off. You always have to get work at short and be that guy, and then work at second one day, work at third the next day. But shortstop needs to be the place, and we've seen it before. This team in the past has been very thin defensively. We talked about how important Trevor Story was for this team. We saw that last year. When there has been an injury in the past to an infielder, and you lose him for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month, or whatever it may be, it's been a struggle defensively, right, to find someone that can go in there. That's where he fits in. You know, early on when guys are healthy, you're going to try to find them a start here and there. But if somebody goes on that 15-day IL, hopefully a quick one, this is where IKF really comes in and proves valuable.
All right, back to pitching, because that's what these early days are all about. We not only are seeing guys throw early because they come in such great shape, but some of these guys got to get their work in before they leave camp to go to the World Baseball Classic, right? No coincidence that day one we're watching Garrett Whitlock, we're watching Greg Weissert, watching Giovanni Moran. These are guys leaving for the World Baseball Classic. So, you know, I've talked to them. We've all talked to them. Doesn't really change anything, but maybe speeds up the clock a week or two. You got to be a week or two ahead of maybe where you normally are coming into camp.
I think you always hold your breath when you send arms out, more so than position players, but arms in particular, because, you know, when you're down here and you're in a spring training ball game to get your inning in, the intensity isn't there. Right, and maybe you're just not ready for that intensity yet, which is fine. That's why some high leverage relievers like a Whitlock or a Chapman coming in the fourth, fifth inning, and maybe they don't throw the ball well, right? Because it's just, there's no pressure, there's no nothing. All of a sudden, you know, we're talking about early March, the intensity picks up. You are pitching for your country. You are pitching for the WBC. So it isn't that one inning is different pitch, you know, count-wise for Garrett Whitlock, but the intensity will be for Giovanni Moran and for these other guys like Suarez and Bayo and other arms that are going to be participating in this. So just you hold your breath and you hope they get through it.
Red Sox are amongst the teams most affected by the WBC. You see the list. We've got 14 guys on that list right now. That could add or subtract. Roman Anthony's being talked about as a potential addition to Team USA. But, you know, it is interesting. Like Garrett Whitlock says he's always dreamed of wearing USA across his chest. I don't know if Greg Weissert always dreamed of wearing Great Britain across his chest, right? But it's kind of like an all-star appearance. You are being chosen to go compete at this high level. I talked to Weissert this morning about the honor of competing in the World Baseball Classic next month. Just how exciting is it to be part of that?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm super excited. Got a couple of buddies on the team, so it should be a good time.
Put last season in perspective, you know, health, being able to post 72 appearances, you make your postseason debut. Like, when you get away from it, I know it didn't end the way anybody wanted, but when you sort of get that chance to put the year in perspective, what did that mean to you and your career?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I was obviously thankful that I was healthy the whole year and able to do my job and go out there every day and when my name was called and pitch. But yeah, I mean, like you said, we didn't reach our ultimate goal, so I mean, it's exciting to be back and stuff and see everybody and all the new faces and see these guys throw, and it's so it's been good so far.
That taste of the playoffs, it just sort of sit with you now, make you want to go back now that you know what it feels like?
Yeah, I was itching for it for so long, so yeah, it was amazing. I'm happy that I got to get in there. But yeah, I want to be back now. It was such an amazing experience and a crazy feeling. It was awesome.
I remember Whit telling me at one point late in the season, you and he were talking, and he was saying you should see Fenway in the playoffs. Still haven't seen that. Is that kind of the next step, the next goal?
Yes, 100%. Got to get back there first, and then win as many games as we can in the playoffs to get back to Fenway. But we did have that conversation, and I was like, it's got to be one of the best places to play with the fans. So I'm looking forward to seeing that hopefully this year.
Anything different for you this year? Work on anything different?
No, I added the curveball last year. Just kind of finalized a change-up grip. So just
different grip or
the one I ended with last year. So just kind of get more consistent with all that stuff. But
with both of those pitches, like now you've got it under your belt a little bit, more confidence, more faith in the grip and the pitch, all of it.
Yeah, 100%. Just using them in the right spots and stuff, and is giving me confidence. And I have a weapon for each type of situation, and so just dialing those in and having the confidence with those.
Let's get finally just, you got to ramp up a little early. Yeah. Like, how much did it change to be ready for this tournament?
Not much. I have to come into spring training every year trying to make the team, so, so I always come in probably over ready, so it was kind of normal off season for me.
And by the way, I said he never dreamed of wearing Great Britain. He won't be wearing. He's in Team Italy. I got the wrong one. Chapman, who was going to be Great Britain, but somehow they couldn't find the lineage, so he won't be part of that. But Weissert pitching for Team Italy. Listen, this guy was really important to this team last year. 72 appearances, a full year of health. He talked about the evolution of the changeup grip, the curveball, making him more of a complete pitcher. Obviously, the sweeper we've seen 1-2-3 inning in their first playoff appearance. Like this guy, you talk about some changes in the bullpen, but Weissert is part of the plan going forward.
Everybody focuses on Chapman and Whitlock, and rightfully so. They're that dominant. But to me, your bullpen is really about the other two, and that's Slayton and Weissert. Weissert was absolutely fantastic, and he's had that struggle there for a period of time because it came from usage. He was just the most used guy. I think he was leading the league in appearances for a while there because out of necessity, right? Because he was that good. You wanted to go to him and hold on the ball game. So you can't forget how good this guy was. The changeup was fantastic last year. The sinker fastball really played. Numbers were great on it. The sweeper was an issue for him, which is strange against righties, right? You think with that release point. But I like the curveball. I wanted to see him get a little more comfortable with that curveball to give another spinning pitch.
But you think he would stick with the sweeper, try to work that out. At what point do you just walk away from it? If this curveball and changeup mix can be that sort of combination of pitches, maybe you don't need the sweeper.
Yeah, in a way, I feel like the league has caught up to the sweeper.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start seeing some of the numbers, it was a cute pitch a couple years back, but it's also a pitch that gets a lot of damage done on it right now. So he would mess around with that sweeper and a little, what they would call it's a normal slider, right? Gyro slider, bullet slider, whatever you want to call it these days. But always trying to figure out which one of those sliders, sweeper-slider combo, you want to lean on a little bit more. But I like to see a little more of that curveball. All
right, let's talk about the World Baseball Classic and the effect it'll have on all of baseball, not just the Red Sox, but again, the Red Sox amongst the teams most impacted. You're going to have north of a dozen guys gone. And some of those guys are going to be playing for teams that could go all the way. Obviously, talk about Team USA, Yoshida with Japan. You got 3 guys on Venezuela. Those are teams that could go very deep. And if you go to the championship game, you're going to be gone for a while.
Yeah, and Bayo, the Dominican. So I look at the pitcher side. I think that's your biggest concern. So when I see guys like Suarez for Venezuela and Bayo for the Dominican, they're going to go out there and throw their 3 innings. Now, the intensity will be picked up a little bit, so that's where you get concerned, like you do for a guy like Whitlock, maybe trying to hold a game. So there's always a concern there. When it comes to relievers, I don't see those guys getting used, right, in back-to-back games or days, rather, or 3 days in a row. So I think they'll keep an eye on that. That's really more about intensity. Position players, just get your at-bats. As we mentioned before, these guys are going to be taking off around March 1st, coming back. The finals is March 17th. You got guys that could be on these 4 teams in the semifinals. That could be their camp. So you want just your position players to get your at-bats, and kind of that's going to be their spring training. Pitchers, it's all about intensity.
If you play in the championship game, it's the 17th, as you said. So you get back the 18th. If you come right back to camp, that's Wednesday. You're leaving Tuesday to head to Cincinnati for the beginning. As you said, that's going to be your camp. You may get a couple of appearances with the club when you come back, but not a whole lot.
No, and that's why this is going to be your spring training for some. Now, for Weissert and Team Italy, he might be back soon.
Turning on the Paisans.
My Paisan, listen, go get him. I wish you all the best, but we'll see how long that trip is. So some of these guys will be back quick, but you mentioned the semifinals. Those are the 4 teams. You got 6 guys on those teams. So, and that's where, like, Roman Anthony comes in now, right, with the injury to Corbin Carroll. Will he make Team USA? We know who Roman Anthony is. He's an absolute monster, but that Team USA team is stacked with some veterans. If they bring them, my only concern is that the at-bat's going to be there. You know, you want to get your 30, 40 at-bats, and if you're going to be there till the very end and you're only mixed in 6 to 10, that's not going to help you. So that'd be my concern with Roman kind of making that team.
All right, are you pumping up the Team Italy? Was that today's edition of Let's Get After It with Lou Merloni? Like, let's get after it, boys.
Yeah, we'll see how pool play goes.
All right, back to pitching real quick. We're taking a look. Connolly Early out on one of the backfields throwing right now. You know, for all the talk of the guys who are at the top, and I think Early is throwing live BP today. Is he on the list?
He's on the list.
He's going to be throwing live BP today. What a breakthrough for him, right? Youngest starter in a playoff game for the Red Sox since Babe Ruth. I mean, a guy who came up and within 30 days was starting a do-or-die, make-or-break game in the playoffs. You got Tolle, you got Early, even with all the changes in the rotation and all the young pitchers they have traded away in the offseason. Those 2 guys specifically are why they feel so good about the Major League depth.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here out of camp. They are young arms, right? New into the system. You want that inning build-up thing going, so you probably have enough depth here to break camp without them. Now, if there's an injury, maybe one Early might slide in, but it's a way to kind of go down to AAA, maybe control some innings, so when you do need him up here, you can kind of cut him loose. But what a first impression. Like the way what he did to the A's, Sacramento A's, those first 2 outings. And people keep downplaying who the A's were. Offensively, that top 5 was one of the best in baseball, period. I mean, you can have that discussion. He carved them up in that first game with pretty much 4-seamer breaking ball, and then change up, and then came out the next outing, and it was sinker slider. Like, he completely changed his usage and how he approached hitters, and he was still pounding the zone with it, getting swing and miss. That might have been one of the most impressive 2-game stretches I have seen, to be able to just switch it up and still be effective against what was a very, very good lineup at the time.
We're going to look at Payton Tolle in a little bit. He threw live BP yesterday. But again, both of these guys, now it's about developing into a complete starting pitcher. And that might be in Worcester at the start of the year. I mean, if everybody's healthy, you're going to have really good pitching prospects in Worcester. And as Alex Corers likes to say, that's what good teams have to do. They have to send good players down because we have good players here.
Well, Early's ahead of Tolle. Yeah. He's much more polished. A lot of it has to do with the fact that he had an extra year. You know, he had that first year pro ball that Tolle just had. Now he had an off season, as we're seeing Tolle coming out here now, developing a changeup, developing a curveball. Early had that year last year. Like, you know, so he's a year ahead of Payton Tolle. But Connolly Early is very impressive. Tolle's a starter. Everybody keeps talking about, do you put him out in that bullpen? Looks like a closer. Listen, he is a starter in this league. He goes down to AAA. We'll see at what point do they need him. You get to that trade deadline, depending on who is acquired, who's not acquired. In mid-August is when you start having discussions whether you want to put him in that bullpen to help this ball club late in the season. Even if that's the case, he will still be a starter given his stuff.
It is interesting right now. We talk about guys coming up so quickly.
Yeah.
Savage, right, is suddenly now you're penciling him in as a middle-of-the-rotation guy after half a year at the Major League level, but he was that good. I read a list of players to watch who may make their Major League debut. Kyson Witherspoon of the Red Sox on the list. He has not thrown a pitch in a professional game yet. But these guys come out of college now, pitchers especially, starting pitchers, they come out with Major League ready stuff. Now it's just a point of refining it and being able to take it to the next level.
College is so advanced now. I mean, the college baseball, especially some of the upper-level programs in Division I, they're taking the place of low-level A-ball. You know, so some of these kids that come out here, you know, that are high prospects out of college, they may not even need high A. So a guy like Witherspoon could very well be in high A for a month and then spend his real year down in double A. And at that point, you are close. We saw it last year with Tolle. So they have it all. They have all the technology at professional ball clubs. They have their pitching labs. They use TrackMan. They use seam effects. They're just so advanced that when these kids get the pro ball now, especially the arms. Because you can look at shape, pitch shape, and there's certain metrics now with arms say, you know, that worked in Division I. It can work in big leagues right now, given some of the metrics that we see from their stuff. So That's why you see a bunch of young kids coming up quick.
By the way, Carlos Narvaez is just smiling over our shoulder. I think it's because he heard he's going to take your money on the golf course in a couple of days.
Well, I haven't seen his game right now, so I'm probably going to tell him about a 17, 18 handicap and try to sandbag him.
Yeah, get the strokes, no doubt about that. He's become really into it. I was at the David Ortiz golf tournament with him. He was in the group ahead of us, and it's not a perfect game, but man, like a lot of these guys, he can mash it. Like he's heading it down to parts that I don't see in one shot. We're going to talk about the catchers in a couple of minutes, but I do want to go back to the bullpen real quick because it's interesting, right? Last year, almost 2 left-handed at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of the options. Now you look the other way, not as many left-handed options. Alex Cora said maybe we don't need it. We know Chapman at the end. If we're going to have 2, 3 lefties potentially in the rotation, maybe we don't need that many coming out of the pen.
Well, everyone's like chasing this lefty, but I'm not going to sign a lefty that can't get anybody out just to have a lefty. Like, what good is that? Like, you can find a righty that can get lefties out as well. Like, why do you need to sign a lefty just so he can have a 6 ERA and show that he's not that good? Like, I don't understand that thinking. So I don't need a lefty. Like, I'd like to have one. I'd like to have some good ones. So maybe there's still a couple out there that they can acquire that they like. If that's the case, so be it. But you can just get guys out. That's what matters.
And that's why he still talks about Chapman potentially in the 8th inning. If that's where you need the lefty, maybe it's not a safe situation tonight. Maybe Whitlock gets the 9th inning.
Yeah, and especially if it's like, say, lefty, righty, lefty, middle of the order. You know, I don't think you put him in the bottom third. Like Chapman, that's kind of what we saw last year from him as well sometimes. If the game was on the line, you got a 1-run lead, and it's 2, 3, 4 in the lineup. A lot of those guys are lefties these days in the big leagues. You're going to see Chapman. So you still have that guy. It's just the lefty really comes into play in the 6th. Right? In the 6th inning.
Right after the start.
Right after it. Maybe you want to get a bat out of the lineup to kind of help Chapman later to strategically get Whitlock to face a righty as opposed to that lefty that you just. So there's some strategy behind it, but the 6th inning to me is really when it's important to kind of have that lefty because Whitlock's got the 8th no matter what.
Right. While we're on the subject of lefties, does it matter to you, we'll see what Alex Cora decides, but does it matter to you about mixing up the lefties in a rotation? Can you go lefty-lefty, or do you have to separate?
I think they're so uniquely different that you can go Crochet to Suarez because as a hitter, if I face Crochet, it's not like Payton Tolle's on the mound the next day, where that would be a problem, right? Like that, then I would say you got to split up your guys like Crochet and Tolle. They're too similar with the power fastball. But when you could throw in a range of Suarez, you could throw him the next night. They may want to go, with Sonny in the middle of that, but I think you could go back-to-back just because they're so different.
We're going to, by the way, be joined by Sonny Gray on Red Sox and Fort Myers, coming your way tonight at 6 o'clock on NESN, looking at Chapman, getting in his work on the backfield. Has probably had, 2 or 3 workouts already today? Chapman. Kind of midway through his day. Yeah, Chapman, 2 or 3 more later today.
Yeah, he'll hit gym again tonight, I'm sure. Absolute machine.
Alex Cora last year tell you it's a day in the life of Chapman. You get up, you go to the gym, you have a salad, you go run.
You talk about getting older and feeling bad about yourself. Like on the road last year when I'm getting up at 9:30 in the lobby and he's coming in sweating on the road already, like that's when you start questioning yourself.
Yeah. After he pitched last night.
Yeah, like you start wondering, like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, you called 9 innings, he pitched, and he's up 3 hours before you. All right, we'll take a break. Come back with more. It is a live edition of 3:10 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. We are bringing you coverage of the spring training workouts leading to Grapefruit League play here at JetBlue Park next weekend. 3:10 to Left is presented by your New England Ford dealers who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 3:10 to Left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox.
Red's fucking see this and then
5 seconds. We are here at the big stadium today, JetBlue Park in the middle of Fenway South. The catchers out ahead of us getting in their work. And Connor Wong, part of that, obviously. Wong, the sole remaining player of the Mookie Betts, David Price deal with the Dodgers. Settled in, certainly with the Red Sox 2 years ago. Had such a terrific season offensively, and a year where he really sort of solidified his spot as the starting catcher for the Red Sox. But then he had the broken finger in April last year, and the offense was slow to come. Hit just 190 over 63 games. But he's back, and he's healthy, and he's feeling good about both his offense and defensive approach coming into the season. Had off-season surgery to remove carpal boss from the right hand. It's a bony overgrowth that they had to kind of shave down. It had been bothering him for several years. Now he feels his hands are free and ready to go, and it's going to help him at the plate. I spoke with Connor Wong this morning about last year and how you move on to 2026. 2 last 3 camps, something's gone, right? You've dealt with an injury, whatever. Here, healthy, how good does it feel to sort of just be ready to go?
Nice being healthy, just being able to take care of what I need to take care of.
With the last year, the hand, and then all of a sudden the season, you felt like you're sort of catching up, right, the whole time. Looking back on last year, like, what's the takeaway? How do you sort of put that as, all part of the learning process?
Yeah, obviously it's a learning process. It was tough, but, being able to grind through it and just having great teammates around me to help me get through it, couldn't ask for better guys to be around, so I'm thankful for them.
The dip offensively, obviously you've always been a good hitter. Like, do you sort of have to remind yourself of that in the offseason? Like, what was it like coming away from last season, trying to get back to who you can be?
Yeah, I think it's that, just, understanding who I am, knowing what I am and what I can do, and just, I think, taking it like a normal offseason, grinding it out and trying to get better.
Kind of lost, I think, to a lot of the public. It was such a good year defensively. Like, that's something you continue to work on, continue to build on?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was the biggest focus going into last year. And then I got hurt and some of the defensive stuff dipped because, when you get hit by a bat, it's kind of tough to get back there. So getting over that hump was another challenge. And just being able to get through those things, it was hard, but, really fortunate to be able to have teammates and help me get through that.
You watch this team put together the rotation it's put together. You're getting to work with some of these guys now. How good can this rotation be?
Yeah, I think they're going to be really good. And, we got to get to know these guys and figure out what makes them tick and help them be the best they can. And they're going to help us win a lot of ball games. Whenever
you get pitchers with success, like you get a guy like Sonny Gray, like he knows what he wants. He's an interesting guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's very focused. And first bullpen I had, he's like telling me exactly what he wants to do, and that's kind of what you want as a catcher, a pitcher who knows what they need, and they're able to communicate that. And I think he should be able to help other guys too.
You've been doing this a long time. You still learn from these guys when a new pitcher comes in?
100%. Everyone's got something. I feel like you're always trying to learn and see if you can add something that maybe can help someone else too.
Good stuff from Connor Wong. Again, gets hit in the hand, got the broken finger. He's already got the bony overgrowth that's been bothering him for a couple of years. Really, both hands affected, and of course that's going to affect your swing.
And if you're a hitter and you don't have either hand, I don't know what you expect out of that person. So, yeah, last year there's no hiding it, right? It was an abysmal year for Connor. I mean, he knows that, and I think as a catcher, there is a point in the season where offensively it's going so bad that all your focus is on catching. All your focus is on the pitcher out there. Defense is now become your focus because you realize this is a guy that, you talk about the broken pinky, right? He got off to a slow start, hit the ball hard, didn't get much love early on, then just got into a rut. It just snowballed on him. But the top hand, that's the hand that he actually had surgery on to get rid of that bony growth. This is a top hand monster type hitter, right? Like he really gets on top of the baseball and drives the ball to left field. He didn't have that, and he didn't have this. So I don't know how you could possibly hit. Like we forget, we looked at last year and everybody right away was like, he's done. Get rid of him, move on. 2024, this guy hit 280 with 13 homers. Played 123 games, had a 758 OPS. Like, this was a really good offensive catcher. Now, defensively, there were things to work on, which he did last year. The combo of him and Narvaez, I think you're set. I think you're in really good shape. Because we loved what Narvaez gave us last year. We forget 2024, Connor was actually better offensively than Carlos Narvaez.
So let's say best case scenario, are we talking 110, 50, that kind of mix? Are you trying to get 2-1, 3-1? Like, how much does Connor Wong need to play for A, him to be who he can be, and B, for him to help Narvaez be his best?
This goes into the kind of the theme of this baseball team in this outfield with guys like Abreu and Rafaela trying to keep them healthy. You want to keep Narvaez healthy. Like, what he was doing offensively was fantastic, and then he hurt his knee. And now if Connor was kind of healthy, you might have seen him jump in and get 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 and let Carlos sort of rest during that time. So I could see early on in the year, 2 or 3 starts for Narvaez or 2 starts, 1 for Wong, and just sort of let this thing play out. Catchers get banged up, catchers get nicked up, ride the hot hand. We've seen that before as well. So I think you have 2 good offensive options. Obviously Narvaez, I think, different level defensively, but I think it's an opportunity to keep both these guys fresh and get production from them.
A year ago, we stood here, we didn't know a lot about Carlos Narvaez. In fact, we were talking about the competition to see who the other catcher would be. He obviously took that, ran with it, and put together a tremendous season. What's the next step for Narvaez? What does he need to go from here?
Just consistency. That's all that it really is for young players in this league. Like, we know that the drop-off had to do with the knee. He should have had surgery during the year. He didn't. He gutted this thing out because he knew the team needed him. That's a check, checking off a box as far as toughness goes. The maturity level is really what blows me away, right? Like, this guy kind of comes in here, like you said, we didn't know if he was where he was going to be on the depth chart. He takes command of it. He communicates with the pitching staff. He stays even keel, it seems like, emotionally. He's just a very impressive guy behind the plate. Pretty much everything you'd want in a catcher. So just continue that path. Stay fresh, stay engaged, stay healthy. And I think it's another big year from Carlos.
I mentioned the David Ortiz golf tournament before. I was there in November, and there was a moment at the social the first night where I'm talking to Carlos Narvaez, and Jared Saltalamacchia comes over and wants to meet him. And David Ross comes over and wants to meet him. Pudge Rodriguez comes over and wants to meet him.
Yeah.
I talked to him after. He's like, that was pretty cool.
It's an
like,
impressive
these
guy.
catchers want to talk to me. And I think he's a guy who's just starting to figure out that he could be one of the good ones behind the plate.
Yeah, he's a fun guy to be around. Like, I love talking to him because, again, it's even keel, it's focus. He'll joke around. He's got a great personality. You can see why pitchers kind of really draw to him. I mean, how many times after games did we hear pitchers credit their catcher in Carlos Narvaez for the way he called the game? Like, I think he takes ownership in it. So it's very rare that you see a guy that at one point was elite before the knee started bothering him defensively, because I do think he can be that type of catcher, but also an offensive catcher as well, while also giving attention to the pitching staff, getting to know each guy individually and what makes them tick. So he's a fun guy to be around.
And now some new guys, both catchers getting to know, all the catchers getting to know, including Sonny Gray. Don't forget, he'll be with us on Red Sox and Fort Myers, coming your way tonight at 6. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the infield. A lot of those position players already here, getting in early work. Sunday is the first day of the full team working out. We've got more live from spring training as we continue with 3:10 to left, presented by your New England Ford dealers after this.
in my mind, I think playing third with them, that's what I played mostly last year, but at the same time, they like guys that are versatile, so probably was going to get a good amount of reps at second, you know, short two, who knows, but just trying to keep that versatility.
You played a lot of mostly second, right, in the minors, so how do you feel that second versus third and kind of where you feel like you're best suited?
Yeah, I mean, I played up the middle most of my life, played short throughout college, second base mostly in the minors, started working third base a little bit later on in my career in the minor leagues, and then got a full season's worth in the big leagues last year at third, so kind of got, you know, good amount of experience at each position.
How did you feel at third in, you know, spring training and early in the season versus progressing throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, I think working with Coach Matt Erickson over there helped me a ton. Just kind of keeping it loose with one hand. You know, a couple things I had to get comfortable with over at third base. That's, you know, a little bit different than up the middle, and definitely got more comfortable as the season went on.
What allowed you to take this jump in the last year? I mean, a year ago, I mean, you're not doing press conferences per se, right? But what has allowed you? Is there one thing that you can point to?
I think you just keep putting your head down and working. You take it a year at a time, and for me, all I really care about is getting better every year. You know, it's not, you know, about where you start, you know, in your career. It's every year, as long as you're trying to continue to develop and get better, like that's all I really worry about.
How much did you hear about your size coming up, and how pleased are you just to kind of prove some people wrong probably along the way?
Yeah, I mean I hear questions about it every time I do press conferences. You know, it's always going to be there. Not really something I worry too much about when I'm playing, but I've been the smallest guy on the field at every level, so it's nothing new to me.
How have you kind of compensated for that and not let it, you know, keep you down?
Just play to the best of my abilities. That's all you can really control. Play hard, and you know, if you're confident in what you can do, then you know you'll be all right. I think that's the biggest thing, is just believing in yourself.
It's safe to say that Pedroia was a guy you looked up to.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite players growing up, and a guy that I definitely try to model my game, you know, around. Obviously, long way to go, but he was a dude that I really enjoyed watching.
You guys got to the NLCS last year. You've had a good, you know, played for a good team there. This team's got some high hopes. I mean, how much is that part of it driving you, you know, to get to the highest level there?
That's everything. That's what you play the game for, is playing those big games at the end of the year. I say it a lot. Like, I feel spoiled that I was able to experience that in my, you know, rookie season, to be able to go as far as we did, and didn't finish the way we wanted to, but that experience in the postseason is super valuable.
Playing for Murph must have been an interesting experience.
He's the man. Yeah, it was. I think he just embraced me. You know, he embraced my skill set and my size. You know, he pokes a lot of fun at us short guys, but definitely a guy that, you know, you knew he had your back, and a guy that was really fun to play for, and a lot of things that I've heard about with Alex too.
We've talked about your swing profiling at Fenway. Have you given much thought of playing your majority games there?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've always said, like, I hope I get a chance to play a lot of games at Fenway, because playing at Greenville and Portland, you know, the minor leagues, they still have the Green Monsters in the minor leagues with them, so I played a lot there and had some success, so definitely looking forward to it.
What do you feel like offensively you want to try to get better at this season?
Everything. I think I was pleased with bat to ball, strikeouts and stuff, was able to play at this level, and I was just continuing to push the envelope of batted balls, exit velo, all that stuff, bat speed. You know, those are stuff that's, for me, kind of low-hanging fruit that, you know, I could get a lot better at.
Did you and Murph talk at all about his relationship with Pedroia and kind of like what his journey to the majors was like and the things that made him successful? Yeah,
I would ask him a lot of questions more than anything. He would tell me stories all the time of when he coached him back at ASU, and you know, he's texting Pedroia, you know, telling him that I'm coming over and stuff. So he's he's helping me out with, trying to connect me a little bit with him, and I'm sure he'll be around here some too. But that was always a cool connection for me. One of my favorite players growing up is, also played for my coach. So that was always really neat for me.
If you're 5'7" and you're going to be an infielder for the Red Sox, you're going to have questions about Dustin Pedroia.
Yeah.
When Dustin Pedroia came up, he had questions about David Eckstein. Like, that's just the way it works, okay? But it's not about his size. It's about what he did last year. He said it there when they asked, what can you work on? You love a guy who says everything. But he went to hard hit rate pretty quick, right? It was down low. 4th percentile hard hit rate, exit velocity. But the discipline is incredible. 96 percentile strikeout rate, high walk rate, right? This guy finds ways to get on base. When you had Alex Cora spent a lot of last year talking about we need to strike out less often, this guy who doesn't strike out.
Yeah, when it became obvious that they were one infielder away, it's like, okay, where do you go, right? Do you go power to sort of give up some of the contact, which was a problem last year, even though power was too, and a lack of defense, in guys like Gino Suarez or maybe Isaac Paredes? Or do you go improve defense with a really elite contact bat-to-ball skill, which is what this kid does? So he brings one of the dynamics that you desperately needed. You mentioned 5'7", but the kid's a tank. Like, this kid is strong. So it really comes down to where he's going to be at this point. That's really the only decision going to be made here. When you hear Craig Breslow with us yesterday talk about this is going to be a fun team to watch, we're going to be fundamentally sound, when he's saying that, you're thinking Durbin. That's his addition is a big part of what they're talking about. And a lot of it has to do with the organization he comes from, and what they preach. I mean, listen, I will have a tear in my eye if I see this kid safety squeeze, right, to get a run in, or actually be able to drop a bunt down occasionally, or move a runner, or make contact with a guy on third. You might actually see me physically crying on air, because it's just something that was missed. We play baseball in 162 games where it is play for the big inning, hit the ball in the air. If you strike out, you strike out. And then come postseason, we try to change. And we care about contact. We care about moving runners and putting bunts down. It's why the Brewers won 97 games. Because they played 162 like it was like people try to play the postseason, and they won games because of it. It's one aspect I'd love to see this team take over, and he's part of that. But you'd like to see some popping over on the other side of the infield. Wilson Contreras is expected to add that, especially at Fenway Park. We haven't talked a lot about him. He's not here yet. But this is a guy that they think, he's only had 1 year at first base, but he was really good defensively. And they think his presence at first base will make the rest of the infield even better. And his presence in the lineup might make up for some of the lack of power we're talking about. I think he kind of replaces what Bregman gave you, like not just defensively on the corner, right? Because he's going to be your best defensive first baseman you've had since Mitch Moreland, all right? And he's going to give you that 20 home run pop, and it could play up. Last year, career high, pull side in the air. Seems like Breslow loves that stat with some of the bats that they acquire. But what he doesn't give you is the quality of it at bat. That's where Durbin comes in as far as the context. So there is going to be some swing and miss from Wilson, but he's an emotional player. He gets after it as well. I think it's a great addition. He will hit fourth for you. You look for a middle-of-the-order bat, you got one in him. All right, 2 questions by extension. Let's start with what Durbin's arrival means to Marcelo Meyer. The question is, where does this kid play? Personally, I think the best fit is third base, simply because of your roster. So when you start talking about Marcelo Meyer, if he's on this team opening day, it's going to probably be a platoon situation. This is where Romy Gonzalez comes into play. He's one of the best hitters in baseball against lefties. You want him to continue to face lefties. But he's not comfortable, I should say, hasn't had much exposure at third. So I think if Durbin's at second, you're talking about a Meyer IKF platoon at third base. He does not hit lefties like Romy does. Right. If Durbin is at third, now you're talking about a platoon at second where Romy is extremely comfortable, of Meyer and Romy Gonzalez, and now you're talking about production from both sides. Romy Gonzalez's shoulder is the only real health question we've been talking about so far here in camp. Kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. We didn't hear about this until just a few weeks ago. What's the deal with the shoulder? Well, first off, yeah, I mean, this guy, that's been an issue for him his whole career. Last year he kind of showed that maybe he could play every single day, hitting 286 against righties as well. But the injuries have been a concern. You saw him in the postseason. You talked about you didn't have Giolito, you didn't have Anthony, you didn't have Abreu Rayleigh, you didn't have Romy. He hurt his left shoulder. As a hitter, you hurt your left shoulder, you pull it out too quickly, you're not staying on the baseball. You needed him against Fried, you needed him against Rodon. He wasn't the same guy. So here's what frustrates a lot of people when the injuries pop up in February. When the season is over and you hurt your shoulder, and there's nothing structurally wrong where you need surgery, no player wants surgery. Doctors don't want surgery. They don't want surgery. So what do? You rest it 4 to 6 weeks, right? You got to give it some time. Hopefully it calms down. Then we're going to start a rehab process to strengthen that shoulder back up again. But you haven't done any swinging yet. You really haven't done much. Once you start ramping it up January 1 and you're in the cage and you're swinging, it's really a test then. How does this thing feel? Well, after weeks of it, the shoulder started bothering me again. And this is why the timeline is always like this with players. If you hurt your elbow, your knee, your ankle, your shoulder, you're going to rest it unless you need surgery. When you ramp it up in January, it comes back, and we have spring training injuries. So he may still be a couple weeks away before we see baseball activity, and that may play a role, maybe an IKF, Marcelo Meyer platoon early until Romeo is available.
But not Christian Campbell. They are committed to him in the outfield now, which is interesting, right? A year ago, he won the starting second baseman job. That doesn't appear to be on the table.
Yeah, I think his days in the dirt are going to be over. I think this guy is an outfielder. I think it's really about, as Core keeps saying, the bat. However, it's really hard to come up as a rookie and be a bat-first guy because it's a tough league. And he's got to find a position where he is at least average defensively. So if he's not swinging, he's not killing you in the field. And that was the case in May, really, defensively at second base. So he's going to get a lot of playing time. As we mentioned, there's a lot of outfielders out there. He has simplified his stance. Saw him hit yesterday, and he is, as simple as it is, as minimal movement that he has, he still impacts the baseball. He was hitting missiles. He is stronger. He is bigger. I'm real curious to see how that bat plays here at camp.
American League Rookie of the Month in April last year, coming back from winter ball in Puerto Rico, where he got to work on some of that, but now they'll have him working in the outfield. We're working here at spring training. We're going to take a break, come back, get back to the pitching side of things, take a look at some of the live BPs we saw yesterday, including Payton Tolle. You'll hear from him as 310 to left, presented by your New England Ford dealers, continues after this. 310 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers, who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 310 to left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. Newcomer Sonny Gray in the bullpen getting ready to come into the stadium and throw his first live BP with the Red Sox. We'll recap that tonight when we come your way on Red Sox from Fort Myers, presented by Mass Mutual, a proud partner of the Boston Red Sox. Sonny Gray will sit down with us and talk about his arrival in camp. We'll probably ask him about his time with the Yankees. We'll probably get into all of that. That's Sonny Gray tonight on Red Sox from Fort Myers. Right now, let's hear from Payton Tolle after his first live BP yesterday.
It felt good. Felt good. I think saying I feel in a good spot with my off speeds right now. I got some room to grow still with the changeup, just with in zone, but through a couple in zone, got some weak contact with it. So I'm excited with it, and got some good reps with the curveball too.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's another pitch, just trying to add wrinkles. We talked a lot about velo separation last year, and this is another something we can throw at hitters to where they can't just be ready for fastball and cutter, which are going to be hard pitches. So just another wrinkle for guys to train.
And the change, you happy with it today?
I'm happy with it today. I think there's a lot of room to grow with it still, but I look back at where I was with it last year compared to now, and we're getting good depth on it. The misses are becoming either more consistent misses or they're like in decent spots. I feel like it's coming along pretty well. Right now it's just getting it back in zone and then just continue to kill vert.
The mindset of a first live BP at camp, is it important not to put too much into it, to sort of take it away for what it is? It's a first step.
Yeah, I think that Narvi said, he's like, you're in a great spot for February 11th. So you just kind of have to take what the hitters give you, and now we go back to the drawing board tomorrow. Like, what do we want to continue to work on? And I'm sure it's going to be change-ups, but just kind of figure out where we're at and get our feet wet. And then so whenever, is it February 21st? Is that the day? Yeah. Something like that. Then we'll be ready to rock.
Grapefruit League play does begin on February 21st. That's the day after the Northeastern game. But clearly, he goes back to the changeup. That's the work in progress. If he can master that, now you're starting to talk about a guy who can compete as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, he needs something below that fastball cutter velocity range, right? And we've said that yesterday. He and Crochet are very, very similar. Imagine Garrett with no sweeper. And it is just power fastball cutter. Now, you can get through the lineup. Some guys in the lineup with that by locating, but there's others. It's about adding tools to your toolbox. They say it all the time. Getting on that mound and say, okay, how can I attack this guy? What do I have that can get this guy out? So having something that can take some velocity off in that changeup in the high 80s, and then the curveball in the low 80s really kind of affects it. I talked to him. He's kind of really working on a two-seamer as well. Just trying to, he's so young. We forget, 1 year in pro ball. This kid in college was throwing 90 to 92. The Red Sox drafted him because he's a massive human. And they felt like there was more, and there was more. We saw average fastball 97. So he's a thrower right now. This year is about developing into a pitcher.
As you pointed out yesterday on the show, Craig Breslow likes monster men.
He loves monster men.
6'6" guys who throw.
This guy falls in that category.
Nothing wrong with that. But that's why, back to your point earlier in the show, you got to have him be a starter right now and work on that, because he could come in and throw gas for an inning and help you out of the bullpen. Maybe you need that in September, but for his development, he's got to be starting games.
Yeah, you want starter depth. It's so much easier to go from a starter to a reliever, right? And as you mentioned now, depending on how the year goes, let's say everybody stays healthy. Maybe you don't need him. He continues to develop and becomes a monster out of the bullpen for you late, but this is about him developing. Like I said, you need the secondaries. You need to get off this elite fastball that you have. And by doing that, by mixing in the curveball, the changeup, all of a sudden that fastball is extra life, because you can't just sit on it and it starts getting by guys.
All right, Sonny Gray will be out here in a couple minutes. We'll recap that tonight at Red Sox Fort Myers. I'm really looking forward to an 8-pitch mix. A guy who's all about precision, like we heard talk about telling a catcher to lower a knee when he sets up. This is a really introspective, thinking man's type pitcher that's going to be on the mound.
Yeah, and you heard from Connor Wong earlier, because I saw that first bullpen at Sonny Gray to Connor, and there was so much conversation between pitches, right? Hey, when I face a righty, this is where I want my fastball. This is where I want the breaker ball. When it's a lefty, the fastball now goes to this side of the plate, and this is what I'm trying to do. There was so much detail in what he was trying to accomplish in his first bullpen. Now, he gets out in that mound. It's a little psycho to him, which I think I love. It's an 8-pitch mix. You see Walker Buehler, Rick Porcello on the mound, frustrated he didn't execute every single pitch. But it should be fun this afternoon.
All right, he'll join us on Red Sox from Fort Myers. Join us then. Thanks for watching. 3:10 to left, presented by New England Ford Dealers.